Hey guys, Luke here from Hands and Heels Racing. Just doing, so today's agenda, we're going to do two separate videos. The first video, I'm just going to do a quick little debrief from Derby Day. Won't spend too much time on it though because it's such an action-packed week. It's just, and obviously with time restrictions, it's pretty hard to be doing reviews, previews for every second day. So I'll quickly touch on how Derby Day played, and then we're going to go through in this video the 9 other races on the Melbourne Cup Day, and I'll do a separate video for the Melbourne Cup because I do realise it is a race where you get a lot of once-a-year punters that want to have a bet and probably aren't interested in the other 9 races. So I'll just do a standalone. I'll do a standalone video for that one there. So on Derby Day, first day of the carnival, it was a pretty good day to be honest. I think for punters, it's a hard day. But I don't think there was too many blowout wins. I had a pretty good day myself. We had a profit on 6 out of the 9 races on the day. So we got the Lexus wrong. Sis Montaigne won that one. We got that wrong. Race 1 got wrong. I back-stinted peg. I thought Craig Williams didn't give it a very good ride. It's supposed to be an on-pace runner. It was out near the back. So it still ran well, and Lavendi was second pick. I just didn't have any money on it because I wasn't confident at the price that it would be winning. I thought it'd be in the mix, but we got that race wrong as well. We had a really good result in the Maya Classic with Shoals. I had an $11 ticket there, so that came in beautifully. Ace High had a $10 ticket as well for the Derby. That came in well, so it was a really good result there. Rich Charm in the last, that was a really good result. That was top pick in the race. The Kennedy Mile was a poor result. Once again, my lesson there is I probably had blinkers on when looking at form and the runners I wanted to back, because I backed So Sibon and Ome Sword, and I think I could make a case, I could rationalise the selections, but I think it's part of it was me chasing losses I've experienced in those horses before and not wanting for them to beat me, at 30 to 1 and me not having a cent on. So I think I had blinkers on a little bit there. But the track and the Coolmore was a pretty good result too. I had Formality each way and I ended up sort of late backing Merchant Navy. So I did back 4 runners in the race, but I did back Merchant Navy for a bit of a profit, and then I had Formality running in a place because it got out to 24, and I thought $7 for Formality to run top 3 was over. So we had a good result there as well. So it was a good start to the week, and hopefully we can continue it on Melbourne Cup Day. There's a few runners I like at value, so we'll get through them. Just on the track, so the track played okay on Derby Day. Traditionally, it can be a bit railsy, and I think it was the case again. I think there was a few races there where a few of them struggled to make ground out wide. So when you're trying to back runners as well, you're trying to find an angle where you can beat the bookie essentially. So I think the angle to take from Derby Day was if something was making ground out wide. I don't think there was a whole heap of horses that did that, and they're the ones that you can probably get at overs next start. Like a horse like Fox Play, for example. If you look at the mire, Dixie Blossoms cut through them closer to the rail, and Shoals was outside the leader. Prompt Response and Eckstein, they were a bit wider on the track to be fair, but they were on pace, and I think Fox Play was the best back marker out wide. So I thought she was a big run, and I think potentially she might go for a spell now. I'm not sure what her targets are, but that's an example of a runner that I'd be keen on next start, because I thought she defied. Not that the track pattern not that there was a big track bias, but it was definitely advantageous to be near the inside. We saw the Coolmore was very, very much like that. I think Limestone was a huge run out there, widest horse. Obviously, all credit to Merchant Navy, but he sort of cut back up the inside, and that was turned out to be the place to be. And I think Ace High was probably run of the day for mine. I just thought, I even stopped watching it because it was an open race and I had multiple runners running for me, and I saw him from barrier 3. Anglins ended up 4 wide, but the horse won with a leg in the air in the end and won comfortably and was superior. He obviously stayed the 2500, which was the query going into the race, and it was very strong through the line. So he was probably running the day for mine. But Melbourne Cup Day had been just once again, I'm not going to make any statements about how the track's going to play. Traditionally, as the week's gone on, they've gotten wider and wider, and the swoopers have come more into it. But that's more looking at this coming Saturday on Emirates Day, so I'm not too sure how Melbourne Cup Day is going to be. I'm not even sure if they've moved the rail, to be honest. So I guess with the track pattern, you just have to wait and see how they're running. So I'm just gonna, I'm done the form for, all runners having their chance. So on that note, we'll get stuck straight into it. So we'll go to race 1, and once again, I'll leave the Melbourne Cup race. We'll skip over that, and we'll do a separate video for that one. So race 1, we've got the 1,000 metre race for the 2-year-olds up the straight. And look, I know it's Cup day, and I know a lot of people are wanting to bet all day on every race, but if you're looking at this logically from a financial perspective and a realistic perspective in the sense of what's a good bet to make some money, it's probably best to sit out this race. Why? Because straight races are hard as it is a lot of the time, and then most of these are on debut. They're all on debut except for the top 2, and the top 2 have got ability. So Kofila and Setsuna, if I had to back something, obviously I'm going to back one of those 2 because A, they're going to be better for the run under their belt. They've already had a run. And B, they've shown ability. So, you could back either of them. I probably prefer Kofila. I liked her debut run, and I think Setsuna has had 3 runs in a very short space of time, and it's a lot of runs for a new 2-year-old. Obviously, Waterhouse and Bott think she's going well enough to go again, and she was very good last start, but I'll just be looking more at Kofila. Who goes into this race at her second start. That's it. No, I'm not going to touch any more on the race. Probably not going to be betting. Maybe potentially if I get some positive mounting yard mail for one of those top 2, I may have a small interest bet on probably Kofila is the way I'm leaning. But it's probably a smart idea with 9 other races on the card to just to watch and ease yourself into the day. You don't have to make a fortune on every race. You got to pick your spots. And once again, I have trouble, and I think a lot of people have trouble with these straight races, and then these 2-year-olds on debut. It's a bit of a lottery. Race 2, so 1,700 metres for mares. And look, I wanted to oppose Invincibella. I didn't really want to back it. I backed her first up this prep, but not that I'm not a big fan of the horse. I think she's decent, but I didn't really want to dive into 270 here. But I think she kind of picks herself. I honestly think there's nothing here to beat her, and I think $3 is a fair price to take, and I think you'll probably get that. So I'd be waiting. I wouldn't take 270 now. I'd wait, and I think she'll get to 3 or so, and I think she's a reasonable bet. Question marks with Invincibella is speed map barrier 9. Bowman, for me, is still out of form. I think he's been riding poorly, and having him on is probably a negative now because he's being priced as a leading jockey. So his mounts are a little bit shorter because he's on them. But I think he's not riding any better than sort of these middle of the road jockeys at the moment. And that's not to say he can't have a good day on Tuesday. I just think at the moment Bowman on is not necessarily a positive. But she was pretty good last start behind Louboutin at Moonee Valley. So Louboutin was advantaged by race shape and the fact that she got to the lead at Moonee Valley on the rails. She led Kicked-em 1. Invincibella was behind her midfield on the rails and boxed on okay for 3rd. So her form was pretty reasonable. Before that, she won her 2 previous starts in Sydney. So I think she kind of picks herself here. 1,700 metres is probably the right trip this stage of her preparation. She's only 4th up. I think she picks herself because I'm against some of the other ones in the market. I think Hell or High Water is absolutely cooked. I've been on the last 2 starts, and if you look at her preparation, she's been up a long time now. I think she's had, let's just count how many starts. She's had 9 starts, I think, it's this prep now. She's going to be her 10th start. She took a while to get going. She had that spell through the middle where she won 3 in a row. And then she wasn't horrible in the Moonee Valley 1,600 metre race, where she come 3rd behind I Am a Star. I think it was a stock stakes. But then she was terrible last start at Caulfield on the blue sapphire day. So top weight here, I just think I can't back her. I just think the last 2 starts have been poor. She's trained off, and I think she needs to go for a spell. And I think the Hayes and Dabney yard, I touched on this in the Derby Day preview video, that I think they have a tendency to run their horses when they're cooked or when they need a spell. I think some other trainers go, okay, this horse is showing signs of training off. Let's send it for a spell now. I think Hayes sends them out and then doesn't spell them until they put that stinker of a run in. And I would have thought that last Hello High Water's last run was that stinker, but they've gone again here. And look, if she wins, she wins, so be it. But I just can't back it off current last couple of runs. Rocket Commander, I can't see how she turns the tables on Invincibella from their last start. And Pygmy, I would like to find Pygmy. I think Pygmy is a horse with ability. 2000 Flemington is kind of, they're ticks for her. But she's had excuses. I don't think she's had runs to suit this preparation. I think she's been in the wrong parts of track. She's been on the wrong track or wrong kind of race. But I don't think she's going that well. So despite having things against her, it's not like she's been hitting the line. Like, she didn't have that Fox Play kind of run that I was talking about earlier, where she was in the worst part of the track, but she's come home hard for fifth. I think she's finishing too far off them, and it's hard to back her here. But I'll probably include her in the early quaddie, because I think potentially, especially if they can swoop in this race, which we're probably not going to know. It's the first race that's not a straight race of the day, but she's a horse with ability. I think Tahani I can't have. First try 1800, last start was poor. And then I go from Tahani down. I think the rest of them are outclassed. Lady Silhouette, or however you say its name, is coming off a Gawler win. How can you back that? Hot Ruby, out of form, outclassed by a horse like Invincibella. Maybe Storms are brewing. Third up here. Probably profiles as a runner that can peak on the day. I think Spannerhead's outclassed, and I think they're all outclassed at the bottom one. So sort of can't keep coming back to the Invincibella. So that's just my tip in the race. I'll be looking to take $3 or more. There's no, even if I'm trying to find a danger, I don't know who the danger is. Pygmy's a horse with ability that can potentially be in the finish, but hard to have off her first 3 runs this preparation. So Invincibella's the tip for race 2. So we'll go to race 3. Lavat's Short Black, 1400 metres for 4 and 5 year olds, benchmark 90. So Land of Plenty's in the market. I think Land of Plenty, if you look at his stats, so he's had 1 win from 13 starts now, so you could potentially profile him as a non-winner. He's got a bit of Sosa Bon about him. I've got a question to place him as well. I'm not sure the trainer knows what type of horse Land of Plenty is. They've tinkered with him at a mile in the Guineas races. Now then it looks like this prep, they're trying to keep him as a sprinter up the straight, things like that. Now he's up to 1400, and I just think they haven't identified a target race for him. They haven't had him screwed down to peak on a certain day, and I think he just seems to be thrown in all over the place. And at 650, I can't have him. I just don't know. I don't know if this is his best distance. I don't know what he is, as I said. He's got some type of ability. We've seen that, but I can't back him. Dollar for Dollar's in the mix, but rising in grade, coming from Morfettville over to Flemington here in Melbourne. He has ran here before. Don't know if the horse has that much, but he's won his last 2 starts, so he's in form. He's going to be on pace. I think he's in the mix. Foxhall, I think if he couldn't get the job done last start and the benchmark 84 at Moonee Valley, I thought he had every chance. I think this is a harder race again, and barrier 16 doesn't make it any easier. So once again, I'm not going to be backing him. New Universe, I'm going to oppose as well. He could blow them away. I've got him down as a horse with some ability. But Flemington first time, 1400 metres, I think first time. His first up run was okay, but at the end of the day, he was running in the benchmark 88, but I think it was a pretty weak benchmark 88. He's been beaten home by Crafty Cop and another pretty mediocre runner there. But in his favour, he drops in weight. Second up last preparation, he won. He's got a good second up record, and I think he's a horse with the upside and the scope to become a really good, group horse. So, for an early quaddie, I'll be throwing him in. But I can't back him straight out at 450. I just think there's better value, and there's too many question marks for a horse about that price. Aussie Choice is a horse I could back each way. I haven't backed him yet. Once again, I get Mountain Yard Mail, so there's a couple of runners that I'm looking to back, and if they're in Mountain Yard Mail and have improved, that sort of might sway me to one runner. But I think at $15, he's an on-pace runner. He's a good 1400 metre horse. He continues to run well at 1400. Barrier 12, you just come across. I think he's probably likely to find 1 or 2 too good, but I think he'll be in the finish. Milwaukee's an interesting runner because he's a bit of a rocks and diamonds kind of customer. Won his last start at 1200. 1400 metres has been the scene of his best runs, so probably his best trip. He's well weighted down in the weights. You know, I think he ticks boxes, but he only won a benchmark 78 at Sale last start, and this is a step up again. Flemington's a long straight to be trying to lead for, and there is pace in the race with Aussie's Choice. Milwaukee, Foxhall will probably go forward. Dollar for dollars, an on-pace runner as well. So I don't think he's going to get a soft time of it in front. So I'm neither for or against him because I think he can win this, but he could easily, you know, run bottom 4 or 5 horses as well. He's if you look through his form's a bit like that. I'm assuming Wayanka won't run considering he ran in Sydney on yesterday, so 3-day turnaround. I'm assuming he doesn't run. Divine Quality. Look, has some ability. It was second to Milwaukee last start. Yet Milwaukee's $8 here and Divine Quality is $6.50. So it's a horse with some talent, but it's been rolled at short quotes a couple of times now in its career, and I think there's a bit of a false boom on it. So once again, this is another step up in grade. 1400 metres first time. A lot of question marks for a horse that's $6.50. So looking back through the numbers I've gone through, I think Aussie's Choice is an each way chance I could back. Probably my top selection at this stage. When I say top selection, the one I'm most interested in backing. Milwaukee's probably the other one I'm interested in backing, second most. I'm opposing Divine Quality at the price and New Universe at the price. Foxhall, I can't back based off last start having every chance. Dollar for dollar probably my third selection. So I haven't bet in the race yet. I may not. I probably will though. I'm a little bit sick. I like to obviously. I am a punter. I'm here to try and make money and make smart choices as well. But a lot of the times, you know, I do try and rationalise a bet, and especially on a Melbourne Cup day, I'm probably looking to bet. So that's the way I'm playing. Probably Aussie's Choice each way there. You get a run for your money anyway. We'll go to race 4, 2,800 metres, and I'm really keen here on Swarkadelic. Each way, of course, $17. I think it's a great price. So why I'm interested in Swarkadelic is, so last year he was 4th, but he was only beaten 0.7 lengths. So he was in the finish last year in the exact same race. After that race, he went out and he came second to QE in the Sandown Cup at 3,200 metres. And QE was coming off a 4th place in the Melbourne Cup. So if you actually look through Swarkadelic's form, his 2,800 to 3,200 metre form is very strong. He's a solid customer at those distances, and I think he's going just as well as last year. So 2 starts ago, Swarkadelic won over 2,400, which is shy of his best trip. Last start, he was okay at Caulfield, benchmark 84, so it was a reasonably strong race. I think it was Sim to Win who won that race. The thing with Swarkadelic, last start he carried 60 kilos as well, so he drops 5.5 here, and last year when he was only beaten 0.7 of a length, he carried 59 as well. So he comes in with a super lightweight, gets up to a right trip. You know, he's performed well at Flemington before. I think $17 is big overs. Grand Duke of Tuscany is, you have to say, is the one to beat off his last start. To beat home Al Mandan, who is the Melbourne Cup favourite. Beat home Harlem, who hasn't really ran well since. So funny race that one. Emily Starr beat Grand Duke of Tuscany home. She's in the Melbourne Cup and she's a good mare, but she failed in the Caulfield Cup as well. But you know, he's a bit of a one batter. He'll go forward, give himself every chance. But if you have a look at his strike rate, I find it hard to trust him. I think it's, you know, he ran well last start, but I don't necessarily think, you know, he's a leader in the sense that if they get the pace wrong, he could easily, you know, finish tailed off or, you know, at the back as well. So I can't trust him at $4.80, and I much prefer the Swarkadelic play at 17. Yogi's in the mix. He'll have to go back, barrier 19, and he gets back anyway. So he's probably going to need the tempo to suit. He's probably going to need the leaders to be running on empty at the end. I think, once again, Swarkadelic will be ahead of him in the run and won't be stopping. He's strong through the line, you know, having good form over 3,200. So I think Yogi's in the mix. But once again, I keep coming back to Swarkadelic's price. Sim to Win is stepping up to 2,800 for the first time. You know, if you told me he'd get maybe over 2,800 earlier in his preparation, I would tell you he wouldn't have got the distance. But, you know, they headed him last start and then he kicked back, which showed the sign of a horse that potentially can get further. You know, he's lightweight, he's got a lightweight here. I don't know, the manner of his last couple of victories haven't been that convincing for a horse, once again, going up to another level in regards to a challenge here. So he's been finding a way to get it done. He's been tough and resilient. 2,800 metres is a question mark, and once again, Squawkadelic, triple the price. The rest of them, Urban Thunderstruck is an each way chance. He should enjoy 2,800 metres being out of Razor Flag, which is there's quite a few runners that are out of him that get over ground or even run over hurdles, so I think 2,800 metres shouldn't be a problem. He is stepping up in grade from the Geelong benchmark 78. He was unlucky in that race, but he's got to take another step again here. I think Flemington suits his run-on style. So in the race, I'm definitely keen on Squawkadelic. I've probably actually even got it on top at the price. Very keen, probably my each way bet of the card. Next pick, I would be going Urban Thunderstruck. I think he's a good each way play as well. And then Yogi, Cinder Win, Granger Tuscany are all in the market and can run well, can win. But those other two are at double figure prices and I preferred them. So now we go to race 5, and we've got another race up the straight for 3-year-olds here. So 1,000 metres. Property's $5. Look, I'm not too sure what to make of Property. He was a good 2-year-old, but he had an injury. I think if Property was going well, he was entered for the Coolmore and they decided to target this instead. So my question is, if Property's flying, why wasn't he in the Coolmore? You know, the fact that he's here doesn't bode well for me. 1,000 metres up the straight. He hasn't been up the straight before as well, so that's a query. His first up run, obviously it's coming out of a pretty strong race behind Snitty Kitty, Super 2, Fartanar. He was only beaten by those 3 runners there. But I thought he sort of won bad out. He was in the worst part of the track, so you can forgive him. I'm just not convinced that first up run that he's flying. You know, I'm not convinced that the horse deserves to be $5 here. I think he's got questions to answer. The track, he hasn't been here as well, and there's a lot of lightly raced talented horses here, so I'm happy to look elsewhere at the price. I think Bandipur's in the mix. I think $10 is pretty reasonable. He could be a bet. I'd prefer to back Bandipur over Property. He sort of is, this prep, he hasn't finished worse than second. 1,000 metres, no problem. He hasn't ran up the straight before, but I think, you know, the fact he's performed well over further, he'll be there to be strong late in this race as well. Medinity, probably cooked. I said in the review show from the Manikato and Cox Plate weekend that I thought that was her race at Moonee Valley. In her favour, she has performed at the Flemington Straight, so that's a tick, and she does drop 3.5 kilos off the last start. So you can come from an angle. I can understand the angle that someone would take to back Medinity here, but I just think this. Look, she hasn't won for a long time. She's only won. I think she's won twice. Yeah, she's won twice now. Both. The first one was on debut, so it's been a while since she's won. And she was beaten home by horses like Nature Strip there, who went past her and probably got more scope to improve. So I'm probably looking elsewhere. Piracy, Sydney form's pretty strong. Was only beaten by a good fella who ran the Coolmore last start. 1,200 back to 1,000. That has to be a query. First time Flemington query. Barrier 1. We'll probably go forward. I think he's in the mix, but hard to come up with the right price with those queries on him. I think Sam's Image had everything go his way last start. Once again, leading on that Moonee Valley track was so advantageous. So I think you'd have to look at a horse like Nature Strip and expect that it turns its tables on Sam's Image, which brings me to Nature Strip, and I think he was the run of the race at Moonee Valley. You know, first up, his first run on debut was very good. The horse clearly has ability and I think has a lot of upside, and you know, he'd be my top selection in this race. The query is Flemington Straight, of course, like most of them here, but he's definitely my top pick. Perrette is a horse with talent as well. I backed him last start in Sydney at 1,300. Bit strange to see him back here at 1,000. The fact that he got lost around the bend in Sydney where he's been trained, I'm a bit scared as to how he's going to run, you know, up the straight track over 1,000. So he'll definitely be strong late. Look, the horse, maybe he's improved his mannerisms, but with his mannerisms and the 1,300 back to 1,000, you know, I've got to oppose him as well, but I think he's clearly a horse who can win on his best form. Some of the ones in the bottom are lightly raced, you know, debut winners, and William Thomas was a debut winner, But once again, it was a Ararat maiden, so it's pretty hard to back him with confidence in this field here. So I haven't had a bet in the race. Again, once again, Mounting Yard Mail will be pretty important with these lightly raced 3-year-olds. But Nature Strip is probably definitely my top selection there. Got to race 6, Lexus Hybrid Plate. So listed race for the 3-year-old fillies over 1400 metres. I'm quite keen on Our Crown Mistress, who should jump out and lead from barrier 1. You know, and how good is Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott going at the moment? Their horses are flying. So they had Sis Montaigne win the Lexus on Saturday. They had Prompt Response run out of his skin in the mire after being wide. They had Invincible Star just get nutted in the Coolmore. Pretty much all their runners, it's very hard to find one of their runners that runs poorly. And I think Our Crown Mistress just ticks the 1400 metre box. We'll get to the lead here, which is always an advantage because you're taking luck out of the equation. And I think it was generous here. The odds at $3.30 I think was generous. I thought she'd be, you know, between 2 and 250. I thought she was clear favourite here and clear top pick. Warranty I'm going to oppose at $7. I think the form out of her Sydney race was pretty weak. She beat Home Groundbreak, who was beating up on some mediocre horses at Kembla. Comes down to Flemington here. Obviously the stable's hot. Peter and Paul Snowden and Hugh Bowman Tradition would be a good booking, but I just don't really think that form is very strong. Tarcooler Spirit's a danger for mine. I think overs at $12. Ran very well last week at Moonee Valley, made ground behind Blondie, beat home Demerara, the favourite, the Spruik horse from Sydney. So I think that was a very good run there, and I think 1400 metres has to be a question mark, but we're not going to know. She might even improve up to 1400 metres too. So I think she's a clear danger to Our Crown Mistress after that great last start. The other one that was interesting was Barouge out of the Snowden Yard. I was potentially keen to back her, but I think the price is pretty underwhelming. I just think, so $6.50, you know, this horse has drew a wide barrier, so does it go forward, does it go back? And, you know, Flemington first time as well, and it's coming off a Seymour maiden win. So, you know, I think the horse has talent, and I think it can measure up to potentially a race like this, but I just thought Our Crown Mistress was top pick. I was happy with the price, so I've already bet up there. And I think the danger comes from Tarcooler Spirit because I thought she's overs at $11. So Melbourne Cup's next race, we'll skip that. We'll go to race 8, 1800 metres, a listed race. Open race here, I think you can back a few of them. Kid Me Never, I'm happy to forgive last start. I just think, you know, his best form overseas has been over 2000, and he was first up in Australia at 2400 on a hot tempo. I think he had an internal bleed as well, so there's reasons to forgive. And Charlie Appy will be absolutely, you know, he has a knack of getting his horses to win. He just had QE win again the other day. I just think, you know, if you're backing all Appleby's horses here, I think you're making a profit. And I think the horse clearly has ability. He'll probably have to go forward from barrier 19, and back to 1800 metres is more suitable. And I just can see the horse potentially winning the race. So he'll be included in my quaddie. Morris was unlucky last start. He was bottled up, couldn't get a run. Probably would have finished with Kiwia. Well, he might have even beaten Kiwia last start at 2000 metres. So the question mark with Morris is he's back to 1800 metres. He'll get back in the field and he's inconsistent. You know, he's a hard horse to catch, old Morris, and he hasn't won for quite a while. I think his last win was in Ipswich about 18 months ago. So that's cause for concern. Is that, yeah, his last run, if you look at that, he's a great bet. But then if you look at the overall picture of, you know, the horse's consistency and winning record, you know, you might not back him. But he's in it for shot. Balf's Choice is flying. 1800 metres is fine. He's won over further. So, you know, this is a step up from the last start Seymour win. But he's in winning form. You know, the horse is a winner. He's got a good winning strike rate. And has to be in the mix. So that's Balf's Choice. The Little Engine interests me, especially at $34. I sort of checked it this morning, it was 34, then saw that he got crunched into 18, but he's back out at 23. The interesting thing with the Little Engine is that he's a horse that runs better over further, of course, but last preparation he resumed over 1800 metres and he finished second behind second bullet. So Flemington's probably more suitable than Caulfield, which he resumed that last prep. He's got a long time to wind up. He's run some good races here at Flemington. And, you know, just looking at that pattern alone, I think, you know, there's a few runners I'm against here, and I think he's one that will be strong through the line, finishing hard, and can run a place. Potentially, maybe even course a ball over and win, but probably more likely to run a place. I think his overs at $23. I'm against Life Less Ordinary and Louboutin. So Life Less Ordinary gets back in the field. Failed last start at 2,400, so he's 2,400 back to 1,800 metres. It's hard to be enthused. I mean, he hasn't. It's not like his form before that. He was just blitzing them. He had form. He SP favourite in the Metropolitan, which is a big tick. But I think the preparation is very strange coming back to 1,800 here, and I think he's unders. Louboutin's one of those runners I spoke about in the Derby Day preview that I'm happy to oppose these Moonee Valley leaders that were just advantaged by the track. You know, 1,800 metres at Flemington, trying to lead that is a very tough task, and I said the same thing about Global Glamour. That leading she's run at 1,600 metres before leading, but not at Flemington, and trying to lead over 1,600 metres. If you are slightly suspect at the distance, you'll probably get found out. So I'm against Louboutin at the odds as well. I think Pure Pride could win. This is her first go at 1,800 metres. On breeding, should gobble it up, but she's impossible to catch as well. So, you know, last start I thought she was a bit disappointing. Start before she was very good, and she seems to race very well at Flemington. So you can make a case for Pure Pride, but hard to catch. Like she's had 2 wins out of 17 starts. So, you know, if she beats you, you can almost cop it on the chin. Just be like, okay, well, if I'm backing a horse like Pure Pride all the time, I'm probably doing my ass most of the time. So, you know, she probably goes into the quaddie though. Nozomi's the one I backed because I think he was reasonable behind Folkswood, who has since run 3rd in the Cox Plate last start. His prior form was very good. He ran a great race, 1,700 metres at this track, a couple back behind Hardham. So that's a big tick that he's run well at Flemington this prep, you know, around this distance range as well. And I think he'll get back, and I think he'll be strong through the line as well. I'm assuming Radipole doesn't run, considering he ran in the Kennedy Mile on yesterday, so I'd assume he won't be on the 3-day backup. And the rest... Odin's the other one I can back that I'm interested in as well, because I think, you know, last start he returned to form, 3rd up over 1,700 metres. I think 1,800 metres suits perfectly, 4th up here. Flemington, big track with big spaces will suit this horse. Barrier 4 just maps beautifully. He has to be top pick because he ticks the most boxes. So, you know, Odin on top there. Probably Nozomi next, the little engine. There's a few winning chances. I'm just happy to oppose Life Less Ordinary and Louboutin, and I won't even be including them in the quaddie, even though they're first and second favourite. So race 9, the Security Sprint. Up the straight again, so 3rd race up the straight, 1,200 metres, listed race. Fartanar is proven at Flemington, so he's a $6 chance, and he's classy enough. Obviously his best form probably wins this. My question mark is how he's going. Obviously first up in the Moya he looked to have a bit to offer, was unlucky. The form hasn't really been strong out of the Moya at all, so query on that form. And then last start, I thought he was pretty average, pretty plain behind Super 2 and Steady Kitty. So I think they're pretty speedy mares, but I thought he had, you know, I think it was $8, $8.50 against them. I just thought he would take more ground off them. I thought he just boxed on okay. And the other query is he's gone 2 runs at 1,000 now up to 1,200. So no 1,100 metre runs at all. He could be on tired legs that last 100 metres. Really, I like Calander here because I thought he was an eye catcher first up and has good ability. So got back to last at Caulfield behind Rich Charm and Kina Ray. Rich Charm since come out and won yesterday at Flemington, and he was very strong through the line. So, you know, the straight's a question mark, but I think $7. I think if he handles a straight and likes a straight, Calander, I think he's your winner. So you 2, some chance has been in the mix, just missed behind Suspense 2 ago, and Suspense has come out and won since, albeit along those Moonee Valley rails. And then last start was very good behind Rich Charming King race. So it comes out of that same race as Calendar, and Calendar was the unlucky runner. So you two at $13. Wouldn't talk you out of an each way play there. I thought so on my posing. I just can't believe I thought so. It's $5.50 here. So Flemington straight, and in the preparation, so it's gone 1,200 back to 1,000, now back up to 1,200 for this. And he's a bit of a cat. So he does drop significantly in weight. That's a positive. But, you know, he couldn't get past Fickle Folly last start, and he loomed up. Looked like he was going to put paid to them. And just sort of stopped, and I had a look around, and Fickle Folly kicked back and did him. So I think I've got him down as a bit of a cat. I don't really like the preparation, and the straight's a question mark as well. So that's a no for me at $5.50. Princess of Queens is honest. You know, she tries hard. She can run well over 1,400. So 1,200 up the straight will be no problem. She should be there to tough it out. I think she'll be in the finish. And then the other one I've backed, so I've backed Calendar outright, and I've also backed I'm Telling You each way, because I think he's a horse who loves Flemington. Last start, he showed an electric turn of foot over 1,100 metres up the straight. 1,200, probably a slight question mark. His best form seems to be over 1,000, 1,100. But I think if you're powerful through the line over 1,100, I mean, how can you not run 1,200 metres? If something fails at 1,200, a lot of the time it can be a different circumstance as opposed to just not running the distance. So I think I'm Telling Ya is a good each way bet. Alright, race 10, the last one on the card. Probably the best race of the day if you ask me. Obviously the Melbourne Cup's an exciting race, but this is a hot field. Hong Kong Jockey Club Stakes. I'm going to be slightly against Furyk. Now this is a mare this is a mare's race, Group 3, 1,400 metres. So slightly against Furyk, 1,400 metres has to be a query for her. She hasn't tried it before, and I just felt in that race. I did say after that. I think it was it would have been it was Caulfield Cup day in the review show. I did say that Furyk had everything panned out that way. It kind of won by default because Nietta's bubble burst, didn't perform, and you know in Furyk's favour, Lyuba was second that day and come out and won on yesterday. So that's probably ticks the form for Furyk. But I just thought she had every conceivable hope, sort of sucked up, you know, near that rails, that hot rails area, and was able to win. I think, you know, 1,400 metres at Flemington completely different. And I'm against based off that in the price. I'm assuming Eckstein doesn't back up. She was huge in the mire yesterday, outperformed her starting price. I think she ended up finishing second behind Scholes. I'm assuming she gets scratched. Cool Passion. You've got to respect this runner because she nearly beat Global Glamour last start. So Global Glamour kicked back on the inside. But, you know, beat home some of these runners first up. Beat home Padrina, Miss Gunpowder first up. When they were first up, sorry, the start before, she was third up. So she didn't have a fitness advantage there. So you've got to take that Miss Gunpowder and Padrina are now fitter and probably out to a better distance for them too. So they can potentially turn the tables on Cool Passion. But she's honest and, you know, based off her last two runs, good enough for this. So you've got Quillates, and I can't believe the $27 on offer. I just think, you know, this mare beat home Prompt Response last start on Blue Sapphire Day. Prompt Response has run 4th in the mire on the weekend, so that's very strong form. That Frank's Quillate's run. She did have everything suited, sort of presented, peeled out, went past them late. But, you know, barrier 7, she might be not at the back, she might be midfield or even slightly further forward. And, you know, 1,400 metres means she'll be strong at the end of it, considering her last start she was over 1,600 metres. So I've got Quillate's as a good chance and definitely going in the quaddie at a long price. White Moss is a good mare, you know, untapped potential, continues to get better. She does strike a hard race here though, so that's my query with White Moss is that she strikes a hard race. We haven't really got a line on how strong that form is in Sydney coming down to versus these mares. And Flemington, you know, has to be a bit of a query as well, first time. Miss Gunpowder, she's in good form, probably ticks all the boxes. I've been on first 2 runs this preparation, so it's hard for me to jump off. I probably will back her around that 850 mark. I think, you know, she maps beautifully again, and she's probably going to be in the finish. Quillista I'm against at 1,400 metres. I think she gets fired up quite easily. I think she's better back at 1,200. Swampland's in the mix as well because she was unlucky and in the wrong part of the track, Caulfield Cup Day in the Tristarc. So her prior form to that was very good. You know, Flemington 1400 metre runs are very good. So, you know, Swampland can be one that can get back and run home very strong and probably potentially get over the top of all of them. Query with Swampland is that she's been up for a long time, and the question is when is she going to put that I've trained off run in. You know, it's probably due, but based off her last run, she's still in good nick. Padrina was great fresh. She's only had 9 starts now, so she has the potential to have gone to the new level this preparation. So she's 2 from 2 at 1400 metres, 1 from 1 at Flemington. Her second up form's okay. I think third up she seems to peak, but she's had 3 weeks between runs, and I think you know, she's my top selection in the race because I think she maps beautifully to swoop, and I just thought she won it for a fair bit in hand last start and probably should improve off that. So that's pretty much all I've looked at in the race. Not really interested in anything else there. So in the Hong Kong Jockey Club Stakes, I'm looking at Padrina. I've already backed. Next selection would be Miss Gunpowder, and then I'll be looking at probably Quillate. I just think Quillate is overs, and I'd probably have to include at $27 in for 4th. So pretty open mares race. Quaddy once again didn't pay that much on Derby Day because a few of the fancied runners won, but I assume with these open fields and a lot of long prices, I think you can get, if you're getting 20-25% of a quaddy, you're probably looking at a decent payout. So I'll be playing the quaddy again, going quite wide. So that's it for the Flemington card apart from the Melbourne Cup, so I'll have to do a separate video for that one. So just running through in summary, best bets in the card. So I'm going to be backing Invincibella. Just by default, I don't think there's any dangers to her. I think she picks herself. $3 is the price I'm looking to take. Race 3, I'm not entirely sure yet. Aussie's Choice is my leaning, or Milwaukee. They're probably the 2 I could be looking at backing. I might back both. Probably not going to get too much on the race because I'm not as confident on that race as other ones. Race 4, best each way of the day, Swarkadelic. I think it's a great bet at $17. Race 5. Tough race up the straight again, once again. I try not to get too much money involved in the straight races. Nature Strip's my top selection there. I'm pretty sure I haven't backed him yet, but I'll be backing Nature Strip, having something on him because I think he's potentially the best horse in the race. Race 6, Our Crown Mistress. I've had a pretty good crack at her. I think she's probably the best of the day. You know, barrier 1 suit, she'll go to the lead, be terribly tough to run down. I think Tarcoola Spirit as well, you can probably save each way there. So you could potentially have a small win bet Tarcoola Spirit, have a reasonable go at the place, because that way you can even hope for an Our Crown Mistress win and Tarcoola Spirit to run into a place, which would be ideal. And then in the chance that Our Crown Mistress fails, you've covered with Tarcoola Spirit, which is my second pick. But definitely Our Crown Mistress, quite keen there. Race 8, open race. I think Nozomi is worth a nibble, and I think probably The Little Engine will be the other one I might have a bet on each way. Race 9, I've backed Calander. I think he'll like the straight, and I think he's a horse with a lot of ability, and he'll improve off that first up run. And I've also backed I'm Telling You each way. I just think it loves a straight. It's in good form. Electric Turn of Foot, and I think $20 is overs. And then the last of the day, I backed Padrina each way. It's an open race. This is probably the toughest race on the card. So I've gone Padrina each way, and then I'm probably going to be looking to either back Miss Gunpowder or Quillate each way. I'll definitely be including those 3 in my quaddy, along with Cool Passion, White Moss, probably Swampland. I might even leave Furyk out of the quaddy. So that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I've been a help, and I hope you can back a few winners on Cup Day. Stay tuned. I'll be doing the Melbourne Cup preview next. Thanks.